Man, I just finished volume 14 of I'm a Spider, So What? And let me tell you what a volume this was. So before we even get started, there will be major spoilers. So if you haven't read any of the light novels, if you've only watched the show, viewer beware, because I'm going to be getting total spoilers on everything that happened in this volume. I know this is the first volume I've covered besides the anime series, but this thing had me so pumped, I just had to make a video of it. This volume, we get something I've been waiting for since I very first watched the show, and that's a death of a certain individual, but we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. So this volume, we finally get the continuation of the story of what was the ending of the anime, where White and the Demon Lord finally reached the elves to wage war and to take out our main villain, Potimas. So that's kind of, I was so excited to read this volume because I read that we finally continue the story. But this volume starts off with the Demon Lord, aka Ariel, and we get a little bit of her backstory, which I thought was pretty awesome, but it was equally messed up. So we learn why she hates Potimus so much and how much of a bastard he really is. Honestly, I haven't hated a villain like Potimus since Game of Thrones, with Joffrey and Ramsay. Now that's how cruel Potimus really is. This volume, we learn what really happened all those years ago and what Potimus did and what he did to Ariel and why the planet is in the state that it's in. So this volume, we start off with Ariel. She's getting saved by Cyril, which is the goddess. She was in Potimus's clutches and he was doing experiments on her. But she's not the only one he was doing experiments on. He had other children as well, and they're known as chimeras. But a bombshell right here, I'm about to drop. So if you're ready, here it comes. Ariel is actually Potimus's daughter. Yeah, wow, I did not see that coming. So it makes it even more messed up that he was doing experiments on his own daughter. Yeah, wow. I know what you're thinking. What kind of experiments? Well, Potimus sliced her DNA with other creatures like spiders. That is why, she is the way she is. Since Ariel has spider DNA, she has like poison in her blood, so she's slowly dying. So she has to be hooked up to like medical devices just to keep living. Like she's so weak she can't even walk. So just to survive, she lives her life in a wheelchair. But the other children, each one kind of has different abilities, but all of them live together in an orphanage that Cyril has created just for them. So we also get a little backstory on Gilly. We see him as a young dragon when he first meets Cyril, and she punches him right in the face because he's about to attack some humans. And this is kind of the start of his feelings for her and for the humans. So it's pretty cool. We get to know Gilly a little bit. And, he forms a bond with Ariel also because he visits the orphanage quite a bit to see Cyril. So this is how he gets to know Ariel. So the gist of this volume is we go between Ariel as a child, Gilly, and then back to present time with the battle drawing near. So before we get into the battle, let's talk about how we got to this point in the story. See, the whole thing was caused by Potimus. He's the one who discovered MA energy, which is what runs the planet. Potimus's main goal is to become immortal and become a god like Gilly, White, or like Dee. He's scared to death to die. He doesn't want to die. He thinks anyone who's okay with death are below him. So he uses MA energy to help him evolve into an elf. So he was originally a human, but now he's an elf, and he used MA energy to help himself to evolve, to give him a longer lifespan. So after he discovers MA energy, he gives it over to the humans, shows them how to harness it and how to use it, but this causes the planet to run out of energy. But this was his whole freaking plan. Since he could not find a way to be immortal, he thought, well, this planet was beneath him, so he just planned to move on. Everyone else be damned. To Potimus, this planet and his life forms are like so beneath him, and that statement right there just sums Potimus all up. So his plan was to give the humans MA energy, have them suck up all the energy of the world, and he was just gonna say see ya. He was gonna leave. That was his whole plan. If he couldn't find a way to be immortal or to turn into a god. However, though, Potimus can't be entirely blamed on a planet's destruction. The humans was warned by the dragons and Cyril that if they keep using MA energy, the planet would be doomed. But nobody would listen, but nobody believed them. And I think Potimus knew this. This is why he kind of gave knowledge to the humans, because he knew that they wouldn't listen to the dragons or anyone else. So the humans use too much energy and the world starts to collapse. So Dustin, the pontiff, which is the president at this time, has to make a choice to save the world, to save the human race, which is a choice that was given to him by Potimus, and that was to sacrifice Cyril to save the planet, which therefore would save humanity. And of course, this is what Dustin chooses. However, Potimus's real plan was to steal all of Cyril's energy and leave the planet, which, is just wow. Yeah, that's how dark he is. So his whole plan was for Dustin to make that decision, and then whenever he offers up the goddess, then Potimus would steal all of her MA energy to try to become a goddess himself. So at this point, Gilly makes a pact with Administrator D to save the world. But if she saves the world, then the world is her plaything. So Gilly he decides, okay, we can do this as long as you don't take Cyril's life. So he agrees to it, and that brings us to the current point of the story that I know we've all been waiting for, the battle between Potimus and the Demon Lord. So just kind of a rough history of what happened, why the world is the way it is, and how evil Potimus really is. Okay, so let's get into the battle. The battle was freaking awesome. It starts off with the Demon Lord and White going their separate ways. White is taking care of the surface, and the Demon Lord is going underground to take care of Potimus. What sucks is as soon as Arrow goes underground, she's met by Potimus's ultimate weapon. Then it cuts to White, and we don't get back to Ariel towards the end. But White's story is awesome. Her and the puppet spiders, they just take down all the machines that Potimus throws at them. They're just massacring all the machines very easily, wave after wave after wave. But each wave gets a little bit tougher, So eventually the puppet spiders, they are no match for these weapons that Potimus is throwing at them. But White pulls a little secret weapon, and this secret weapon is freaking meteors. She has like her own little separate dimension, and she has these like meteors, like bullets, little meteor bullets that are just flying around that she uses to kill these giant robots. And that's how she wipes out the next wave, is with these little meteor bullets. Then she notices the Queen Tacaract is getting her ass kicked. And with all the other spiders, there's this giant sea urchin looking thing that's in the sky. It's just destroying everything. Each spike is like a really powerful gun. When White goes to use the little meteor bullet to this guy, it just kind of blocks the bullet. It makes this like horrible loud noise. So at this point, she has to use her secret weapon. The one that she didn't want to use in front of Gilly because she wants to save this just in case she ever has to fight Gilly. And this weapon is pretty crazy. So she created another evil eye just for this. And what it does, it zaps all the energy from whatever she's looking at. So since these urchin type weapons are just full of energy, as soon as she looks at it, all the energy is zapped, they fall straight to the ground. And then they're over. That's it. But as it's falling, the Queen Tacaract takes a big old bite out of this urchin type weapon, and of course it explodes and it kills the queen right there. And that one I didn't see coming. So after this first one is defeated, the ground opens up and a ton of them come out, like just as far as the eye can see. And in the middle of them, you have this large pyramid type, structure in the middle. So now White is like, oh crap, now she has to use her ultimate weapon, which is the same thing, but multiplied by thousands. She has another dimension full of little spiders that all use that same ability, that evil eye that sucks out the energy. And the way they describe it is pretty awesome, with the sky opening up like a spider and all these little eyes peering out, and boom, all those things are gone, all dead instantly. So right after all the chaos settles down, a large UFO type object comes out of the ground, and she just snares it in her webs. And guess what? This is Potimus. Now we finally cut back to Ariel fighting. Now that machine she's fighting is Potimus's ultimate weapon. And this thing is just like a T-1000 from Terminator, which she smashes it to bits and it just turns into liquid and reforms, which I thought was pretty badass. This thing is actually doing a lot of damage to Ariel. And since she's in one of those stupid barriers that Potimus has, she's not really able to use, her abilities. So now she has like a gaping hole in her stomach and a gaping hole in her chest. But fear not, she has a little trick hidden up her sleeve. She activates this skill called humanity or something, I believe is what it's called. But basically what it does, it turns her into a god, like god powers, but it slowly eats away at her soul. It's kind of like a last resort type of thing. And see, Potimus is such a jackass. He has a lot of people's souls trapped in this machine thing that Ariel is fighting, and she keeps having to use abyss magic to clear out all the souls. When she finally gets done, she notices, oh, hey, she doesn't hear Potimus no more mocking her. That's what he was doing the whole time. He was mocking her over the intercom. But instead, she hears White asking her to come outside, whenever she's ready. So when she steps outside, she sees a giant UFO caught in a web, which is all White's doing. She also sees a large spider web walkway up to the ship. So she sees, well, okay, this is obviously meant for me to walk. So she enters the ship this way, and this is where all of Potimus's clones start attacking her. But she kind of notices something is off, about these clones. Each clone seems scared, because normally they're calm. Even when she destroys one of them, their expression on their face is just complete calm. He doesn't care. But now they're all kind of freaking out. So when Ariel finally makes it to Potimus, and when we see him for the first time, this really answers a lot of questions. And so he's in this tank with all these tubes hooked up to him, and he just looks utterly ridiculous because he shouldn't be alive at this point. But he's got all these tubes hooked up to him, just keeping him alive. So he looks so old and gross and just looks ridiculous. So as Ariel's walking up, man, he's just screaming and yelling bloody murder. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I don't want to die, he keeps saying. I don't want to die. And you almost feel bad for him, but then you're like, oh, wait, this is Potimus. Look, think of what he's done to all these other people. So this is where Ariel, she conjures up some abyss magic because she's not even going to let him be reborn. So normally when you die in this world, you're reborn again. But if you use abyss magic, then your soul and your energy goes straight to the planet. So that's what she does. She's like, you don't even deserve to be reborn. She uses abyss magic, and this is where Potimus starts screaming uncontrollably. And that's it. He's gone. She kills him right there. Now, that scene right there in the book, oh my God, it was so awesome. I was so pumped that he was finally gone. I was really worried that he was going to end up winning. I don't know why, but I feel like he would win some way, somehow. But there's one thing that Ariel says right before she kills him. She says, "Goodbye, Father." And for some reason, I knew that wasn't he was her father, but for some reason it really occurred to me that was really her father until right then and there. I was like, oh, wow, that was her dad. Wow, that's right. I almost forgot. So after Potimus is dead, that's pretty much the end of this novel. I mean, they go back and rest, but they do drop their next objective at the end of this novel, which is to finish off the rest of humanity to save the world, for the goddess. Now, I'm not for sure how that's going to go over with Sean and the others, but I am very excited to see. Now, there's only two more volumes left, so I'm not for sure what's going to happen. But I hear the ending is pretty sad. So I feel like Ariel's going to pass. Her soul is almost at a point where it's going to burst because she has so much energy built up. But her whole goal is to save, the goddess. So, and I guess the next objective, for some reason, I don't know why yet, is to take out all the humans. So let's see what happens with that. I mean, I love this volume. I think this is probably the best volume I've read so far. It finally continued the story. I couldn't believe I had to read 14 volumes to really get to this point, to the end of the anime. But each volume was great in itself. If you haven't read any of the volumes, you should definitely pick them up. I've been reading them on my Kindle. It's just so much easier to read them. And I've also read or watched the anime several times too. So if you haven't watched the anime, you should definitely do it. And if you haven't read the books, you should definitely read the books. They're really good. And that's it. That is volume 14 of So I'm a Spider, So What? If you haven't checked it out, it's on Amazon, and check it out. At least watch the anime. All right. Peace out.